What's up, John?
How are you?
How you doing?
We're good, man. We're just hanging out here at our studio in downtown LA, and just a nightmare to get in here. Had to wipe some feces off my windshield on the way in, which is always nice.
Human or other?
Don't know what it was, but it was thrown at the vehicle, and we're in the midst now of trying to wash that off. You being a real estate agent, is downtown good market? What's the feelings down here?
Not particularly, if I'm being honest. You know, downtown has always kind of been more of an afterthought in LA, and the reason is because if you think about it, LA is the only major metropolitan city in the world that doesn't center around its downtown. Right? San Francisco, New York, London, you name it. Every one of those cities centers around the downtown, but downtown geographically is so far removed. It's just never been. And plus, you know, obviously we live here for the primary reason being the weather, and people want indoor, outdoor living. They want a yard, they want a pool.
Yeah.
Right. So there was an attempt at a massive resurgence, a revitalization of downtown starting maybe 10 years ago when the Ritz-Carlton first got built up there. And it just never really took. People that have that kind of money to spend are looking to spend it in other places in LA. So downtown has its scene. It's a cool, young, artsy scene. It's a kind of Brooklyn-y sort of scene, but it's not where the most affluent people want to be.
Okay, it's a shithole, John.
More important.
Thank you. You know what? That's a much more concise summary. Thank you for that.
Well, you lead me into my next question. You are one of the stars of Buying Beverly Hills, and you are a real estate agent. And from the outside looking in, real estate agents tend to do a lot of their showings, and it tends to be like a kind of a weekend deal. Yes, I'm not saying you don't show houses on a Wednesday, but Saturday and Sunday people have awful work. That's a kind of an ideal time to come and see a home. Now, you being a parent, a father, and if I'm not mistaken, your wife is involved in the business as well.
She's the CEO.
Yeah. How do you manage, play dates and recitals and soccer or whatever on the weekends when the job maybe require you to be out of the house? Is this something that you're struggling with, or you got a system now that you could maybe share to other parents of how you're balancing your work, parenting responsibilities?
Yeah, it's a constant struggle because, to your point, look, most people that are buying and selling homes, these people have other things to do. They have jobs, they have other things in their life. So when do they have time to do that? Usually on their off time is at nights and weekends, which means that our job never really stops. It's 24/7, 365. It's a nonstop, relentless grind. So
yeah. It's like a pediatrician.
Probably.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I was just listening to the answer.
So how do you, the boundaries aren't going to present themselves. You have to set them. And it's really tough to do because this business, if you're on the sales side, is feast or famine. You eat what you kill. You could make nothing, or you could make millions of dollars. So when that phone is ringing, there's a certain sense of obligation that like, hey, I got to keep it going while I can, because it's a cyclical business. It has ups and downs. But by the same token, if you don't set those boundaries, you'll find yourself working 24/7. There's just no stop to this. I never reach the end of the day and have gone through and checked everything off my checklist. Right? You just hope to make a dent in it, and the next part rolls over to the next day, and so on. It's just a perpetual cycle. So fortunately, we've gotten to a point where we've grown a team that has a tremendous amount of infrastructure that allows us to insulate ourselves a little bit, because I guess the simplest answer to your question is real estate's no longer a one-man job. The days of the solo operator is really something of the past. There are so many different facets to this business. So we've set it up in a way that we have a lot of different people that serve different roles that allow us to just do what we do and then be able to shut it off and kind of distance ourselves when we need to, because it's important. Otherwise, you'll burn out in this business before you know it.
Well, to piggyback on what Dr. Cohen was saying, it's similar to a pediatric lifestyle where, it's a 9-to-5 job. And then, after 5 o'clock, he's still taking phone calls from parents. Wee hours into the night. I've called Dr. Cohen at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Most of the calls are from Sebastian, so my job would be much easier. No, but we talk about that a lot, right? Because I heard a lot from people in my profession who had parents that were in the medical profession. I remember being at a play or a game and my father never being there or leaving to take a phone call. And I made a decision early on, and it sounds like you did too, that I didn't want my kids ever looking over their shoulder and saying, "Where's my dad? He's not here because."
Yeah.
It's hard though.
I try. I mean, look, we are, I'm fortunate to sell real estate in one of the most affluent cities in the world. But that also means that we're dealing with some of the richest people in the world. We're talking about, titans of industry. These are people that essentially kind of control the world as we know it. And these people have high expectations, high demands. And if you're not going to meet them, somebody else is. So it's a balancing act. I can't say I do it perfectly. It's just something you just work at and try to refine a little, bit by bit.
Now, being on a TV show, do you have some rules set in place when it comes to the kids as far as, do you like showing your kids on TV? Is it minimalized? How do you make that decision moving forward of like, okay, yeah, we're on a TV show. We're kind of high profile people here. Do we want to show our young kids on TV? Has that been a discussion?
Yeah, it was a discussion. I mean, this is new to me, right? Yeah, we filmed one season of the show. I've never done a reality show before. So just this whole new chapter is something, a new experience for me. And my wife and I had that conversation. I think our feeling at this point is, I don't mind them being in the background of a scene or two here or there. If it turns into something more than that, I think we'll probably want to revisit it, because raising kids in LA is difficult enough to try to raise them with some semblance of normalcy. And frankly, not to try to raise little assholes. I mean, it's so easy to like peer over the fence and want to keep up with the Joneses in LA, which means something very different here than it does in other parts of the world. So I'm okay with it at this point. They're young enough, but I wouldn't want it to really become anything more than that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And sometimes I'll pop my kids up on Instagram and whatnot, and I feel like I don't know. I mean, it's nice to kind of show them and show what I'm dealing with as a parent. But then on the other hand, I'm like, is this, I feel a little dirty sometimes. Like, am I exploiting my kids for just to show whatever the fans what I'm doing on a day to day. So now with the kids, 5 and 2. Yeah. What's planning on having more? Is this the family or two, one, and it's over? It's over.
I got snipped.
You already got the vasectomy.
Oh, you got snipped. I thought he was saying 2.
No. That's the vasectomy.
I didn't have that done yet. That's why I don't know.
I got a guy.
Yeah, Dr. Cohen, you tell him that's the universal code for snipped. No, I always wanted 2. My wife always wanted 3. And I always said the same thing to her, which was, talk to me about the 3rd when you have 2, right? Let's have 2 first, then talk to me about a 3rd. And for me, the real concern, so there's a couple concerns. One is her dad's a twin. Okay, so there's 2 sort of nightmare scenarios there, right? One is we have our first, we go for our second, and in the second she gets pregnant with twins. We end up with 3, which is kind of, I'd rather play man-to-man than zone defense. So, 3 against 2 always kind of freaked me out. But that wasn't the true nightmare scenario. The real nightmare scenario was that we had a boy, which we did, then we go for our second, and we have another boy, and then she's itching to get a girl. So she convinced me to go for a 3rd. And in the 3rd, we get twins. Then we end up with 4. And then I'm gone. Like, I'm in Mexico. I'm just sending checks each month because I can't. Like, there's just,
it seems like it's a tight relationship.
Just saying 4 against 2, man.
Do you know my vasectomy was on Father's Day?
No.
Yeah, that was obviously a choice of mine. My wife had us do the vasectomy. Us, because she was a big part of that decision, and it was Father's Day.
No,
beautiful symmetry about that.
Amazing.
I actually, yeah.
Is a vasectomy covered under health insurance, or is that an out-of-pocket surgery?
It depends on the surgeon, but I mean, if you're skimping on somebody doing that, I think we should rethink the whole procedure.
But that's like an elective surgery. Yeah. Is that something that is covered under the health plan, or is that like getting a nose job?
Oh, that's a good question. Like plastics. I don't think.
Do you know what you paid? Or you just went and
I have no idea, but I agree with Dr. Cohen. You don't want to get a Groupon for it. Like, you want to.
So I'll leave you with this. What is your biggest challenge as a parent?
Thank you. I actually, there's a couple things I'd love to kind of chat with you guys about. My biggest challenge as a parent, and this isn't one of the questions I had, is being present. Again, the nature of my job is that it can kind of pull at me and tug at me from every different direction at any hour of the day. And I find that if I can be present, I can be patient. If I can be patient, I can be a better parent, right? Sort of like those 3 Ps almost create a formula. And that's a struggle for me, is like literally taking my phone off my body, moving it away, just being present so I can speak to, their needs and try to, parenthood to me is the single greatest dichotomy in the known universe, right? It's the hardest job in the world. And yet the one, ironically, that requires no training or requirement. Like you don't have to, courses you have to take. And, it's something I struggle with. I just find myself constantly, as my kids who are, 2 going on 3 and 5 going on 6 very quickly here, in almost every situation, not knowing what to do. Like I don't know what to do here. I didn't study for this. I didn't read a book for this. What do I do in this situation? And it's a constant changing landscape. So, one of the issues we're dealing with right now with our 5.5-year-old, who again will be 6 here in just a couple months, is I actually just made myself some notes I'm going to cheat and look at real quick here. Is he's a rambunctious 5.5-year-old. He has energy just coursing through his veins. So when he's in school, that's a great outlet for that. When he's at home, it's hard for us to channel that. And, that energy sometimes, translates then into him being defiant. And he's, dealing with some anger issues, and anger, I understand, is a really big, powerful emotion for, a kid that age to try to understand and process. And we're trying to understand how to parent that. Like, how do we set boundaries? How do we enforce them? We're working, we've worked through some different things, which again, I'd love to talk further in terms of like timeouts and this and that, but that's our, just to kind of tee up the conversation. That's our biggest challenge right now with him.
Okay. So you got a 5-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Now, do you run these kids like horses to get that energy out? Because we've noticed, I got a 3.5-year-old boy. We noticed that particularly when it was raining, not a lot of outside play, a lot of containment inside, and it feels like caging like an animal that needs to go out and roam. Is there any theory or any behavioral studies done that boys in particular have to basically exhaust themselves during the day? What do you do?
No, I mean, I think you have to parent differently for different children. And I think, unfortunately, to both of your points, schools are often set up for one type of child, right? The child who sits very nicely in circle time and listens and folds their hands. And a lot of children, especially boys, not the stereotype, but it is true, need to get up and move around. So it's finding ways to find that outlet, whether if it is in the classroom, giving a break and doing something else, or at home, giving activities, like you said, where they have breaks to do other things, because attention span of a typical 5-year-old is very short. And then added to that activity level, they need more breaks. And it could be fun things, like little games that you play, like you're going to run and do something in the house, and I need you to find 3 things to start with the letter R and then bring them back to me, and then, go back to what you're doing. Make fun little games that keep them active and engaged. But there also has to be repercussions, because there is a point where you do have to sit down and you do have to get your work done. So whether it is, a positive reinforcement chart or a timeout, they have to know that the good stuff gets reinforced. And when they're misbehaving in some way, that also we can't do that in every circumstance.
Yeah, so this is what I've started to do that's kind of helped, and I didn't tell you this. But you'll hear it now.
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel when I grew up, I was just kind of like, go play. But now I feel that the parents are just deeply integrated into the playtime, where I got to be there, or I got to like be almost my kid's best friend at times, because they're always going, Mommy, Daddy, come on, play. What I've done when they come home from school, I've set up PlayStations. Not like the game, but stations around the house. So I got a puzzle table. I got a Lego table. I brought down a game, Candyland. I put that out because a lot of these games are stored.
You're like Montessori Maniscalco.
Oh,
It's
is this
like
what is
amazing.
this what Montessori does?
Stations,
Gee,
yeah.
bro,
I mean, this
I'm
is
like ahead
you
of my
reinvented
time.
it. That's
But to have it all out so they could access it when they come home, rather than them sitting, because a lot of times I sit, my daughter goes, I'm bored. I'm like, bored? Jesus, you got a playroom of toys. And what I found is, sometimes they're high, sometimes they're packed away. If you bring it out, they're able to kind of just go and play. You go to a birthday party, it's like that. They got like, a makeup station. They got this station. They got that station. It gives them something to do. I've been finding that it's working at the house.
I think that's good. And having downtime where they're doing things on their own is also really important, because I do feel as parents when we're there, it's funny. And I think it is a lot of generational, right? When we were kids, we were able to just leave, go run around the neighborhood. We get back when it's dark. Nobody checked on us.
Yeah.
There were no phones. We came back for dinner. Everything seemed okay. And even though, like, personally, I don't feel I'm a helicopter parent, I think by almost geography, living in LA, everybody's a helicopter parent, because we're always within 5 feet of our child and we're always within earshot of our child. So we're constantly, whether we mean to do it or not, we're constantly making comments on what our children are doing. I hear my girls arguing, where when I was a kid, I argued with my brother in the basement. Nobody heard anything. We beat each other up. By the time it was done, we went upstairs to dinner. Nobody knew it even happened. Now, the second there's an argument in my house, it's an earshot. So don't do that. And we're constantly,
like
refereeing. And I think figuring those things out and having that outlet without us sometimes is a good thing.
Yeah.
But also, my wife and I are trying to like find that balance between just letting them be kids, but also, corralling them in a way to correct the behavior. We were out of town for the holidays and our son was, again, just rambunctious, right? Yelling, screaming, running around. And we were constantly kind of correcting him and trying to just corral him, right? Not punishing him, but correcting him. And he said to us at one point, he said, I feel like whatever I do makes you mad.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh God. Okay. I mean, there's a balance between just letting you be a kid, right? And also trying to raise you into being a, respectful, kind human being. We also realized about ourselves that we were making hollow threats in terms of punishments. We weren't enforcing them. And it's because we were being selfish. It's because we didn't want to ruin our night. Right? We say, if you do that again, no more watching. But if we actually enforce no watching that night, and we're really good about screen time, like we're not those parents that take iPads to the restaurant. In fact, quite the opposite. You need to learn how to socialize and sit in a restaurant for a couple of hours and make conversation with people next to you and so forth. But watching is a big thing. We fight more about watching than anything else in terms of like the time they get at the end of the night before they go to bed. And if we take that away, it's a nuclear meltdown. So a lot of times we'll make that threat, but then we don't enforce it. And they're smart, right? They're recognizing it, like, I can get away with this. So I kind of came to the realization, I think, that like, sometimes you got to burn the building down. Sometimes we're just going to have to this is going to be a bad night. And that's the price you have to pay to try to make them understand that I'm serious and we're enforcing these consequences. I think, but again, I also feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. So I completely open this up to your thoughts on that.
I think we do this as parents a lot. We take the easy way out. I remember, saying to my daughter, if you keep acting like this, we're not going to the birthday party. And then, no, we're going to the birthday party because I don't want to be here with you for the next 2 hours acting like this. And it's the easy way out and it's horrible. And she knows that. So then, right, no repercussion. I'm going to act the same way next time because I end up getting what I want. So I think consistency is important. And I think you're right. We do say no a lot. It's constantly, no, don't touch that. No, don't do that. No, don't go there. And we do have to do a lot of positive reinforcement for the things we like, even the most mundane things. I really love it how you sat at dinner or you played with your sister and those things. So they get the positive reinforcement, because that positive reinforcement, in this age group, saying no, don't do that for a 2-year-old and great job are the same thing. It's mommy and daddy talk to me. It's attention. So they need the attention from the positive more than the negative. And then flipping the negative to, I love that you have all this energy. Let's do it this way, because right now I need you to sit at the table and have dinner for 5 minutes.
But who the fuck talks that way? I mean, honest to God.
I know.
I mean, I've heard this before,
I
like,
know, yeah.
oh, encourage the positive. Let's take that energy and funnel it in to reading.
Yeah.
Everybody's
throw in the
instinct
book,
is,
right?
yeah, everybody's instinct is to go, settle down and read. You know, like
Right.
that's
Right. We all do it, right? No, and that's why all these conversations with all parents are very similar, because we're all going through the same thing, and there's no perfect right answer.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the kids
Right.
end up okay despite their parents. So,
And Sebastian, I mean, to your point, like, I totally agree with that. That, like, yeah, okay, in principle, in the textbook, I get it, but in that moment, it's so challenging. And I guess that goes back to what I said earlier about being present, because, you know, for all the unsolicited advice you get when you're an expecting parent, and right, we all know it, everybody's going to come up to you and you should do this and you should do that. And there's just a tidal wave of unsolicited advice. The one thing no one ever said to me, no one ever pulled me aside and had a really like real candid moment and said, it's going to be amazing, but be prepared to meet the worst side of yourself, because it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see a side of yourself that you didn't know was there, because they run you in the red so hard for so long that like your fuse just gets really short. So that's something that, you know, we try to be conscious of and try to work on. No one's perfect at it. Everybody blows up, you know, from time to time with their kids. It's just, again, it's the hardest job in the world. And I have a pretty damn hard job. That's the thing, is like, I go out, you know, I suit up every day. I put on the battle armor to go out and do a really tough job. And then I come home to the hardest part of my day. Right. Not that I don't love my kids, and there isn't magical times within that, but the highs are really high and the lows can be really low.
Yeah.
no, I think we've all had those days with the kids where we didn't like how we responded, and then we end up getting into bed, curling into bed with them, and, you know, cuddling because we feel bad about it. I mean, I know I've done that a lot because maybe I didn't approach it the right way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes you lose your cool a little bit and then you feel bad. Although sometimes, you know, contrary to what people say, sometimes losing your cool can signify to the kid,
right, this is
I'm
right
dealing with
time.
dealing with a lunatic as my parent. I better get in line, you know, like
right. And then since in your house you're always right, then it works out.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, every once in a while it's good to listen. If my dad didn't lose his cool, I wouldn't know whether how he was like mad, happy, or sad. My wife comes from the school is like, you're supposed to discipline with the same, you know, like voice and this and that. I tend to get a little, you know, firm when it comes to, hey, let's not do that. I took my daughter's favorite stuffy. By the way, I don't know when the hell they started calling them stuffies. It was stuffed animal growing up. Now they just took the animal off, and it's a stuffy. I took it away. She was bawling, fell to the ground, crying, this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, when I gave it back to her, she understood the punishment. And I think they respect you more when you discipline. If you're a pushover, I don't think they respect you. I think you have to enforce some type of structure, and if not, you're gonna be dealing with a serial killer.
That's my point, is like, sometimes you just got to burn it to the ground. You do, to prove the point. Sometimes, you know what? We're getting up, we're walking out of the movie theater. We're getting up, we're walking out of the restaurant. I'm going to ruin the night, but I'm going to do it to prove a point. And I hope that moment pays dividends in years to follow, because you have to prove that point. The other question I'd love to ask you, Dr. Cohen, is, so in those moments where our son is acting up and we you know, try to put him on timeout, right? Now, the purpose of the timeout is really just to catch your breath. We've taught him some breathing exercises, reset, find a way to turn the page. And it's something we want him to do, like, in his room by himself. He's telling us that he's scared. He's terrified to be in his room by himself. And I've tried to, I don't even know how to attack that conversation. I don't even know how to navigate it in terms of which questions to ask, and trying to understand, are you manipulating me here, or are you actually afraid? The fear seems genuine. Like, if I walk out of that room, he comes unraveled in a way that he seems petrified, which I don't, no parent wants. I don't want him to feel that way, but I also don't know, like, what are you afraid of? There's nothing, you're just in your room by yourself. You know, he's telling me he's afraid of the dark. He's like, how do you address fear with this age, and knowing whether or not it's fabricated, manipulated, or if it's genuine?
It's hard because they can be very manipulative, but it is a very common age, 4 or 5, where imagination goes wild. And this is when afraid of the dark, afraid of monsters, afraid of being alone really kick in. And you're right, we don't want to be mean. The punishment isn't to be mean, it's just to give a break. So you do a couple things. I mean, you could have a neutral place, which is not his room, because also associating his room with a negative place sometimes isn't great. But yeah, just for that calm down, I just need you to take a break. The other thing is, you could, I know it's more work on you, but say, look, daddy's going to sit here with you, and you can sit maybe even across the room, not right next to him. Really not to give him attention, because the point is for him to sort of calm down and think about things and regather, but at least you're there to, decrease the fear. And then it's sort of a nice thing. Daddy's here for me. That's reinforced. And then when everything's calmed down, you actually go and you talk it out together.
Here's something I did, and it's amazing what the mind will come up with in times like this. And I don't know if you remember, maybe a week and a half ago, there was a big lightning thunder storm in Los Angeles, and my daughter was scared. She's going through the same thing, by the way. She's 5. She don't want to go to a bathroom in her own room because she's scared to get up.
We fixed that problem.
It's still the
fairy lights didn't work.
No. Well, we actually ordered. We ordered the fairy lights. They haven't come yet, so we're still dealing with that. But raining, pouring rain outside, she's petrified. So I'm petting her hair, and I'm saying, I say, you know who's out there right now? And she's like, who, Daddy? I said, the animals. All the animals are out there, and they're loving this rain. You know why? They finally get to shower. And
this worked.
We went through every animal. She goes, the raccoons, yeah, the coyote. We went through like 15 animals, right? And for that night, it was okay because I came up with this showering routine, and it quelled her fears. Now, when it's not raining, I haven't come up yet with the thing to say. I don't know what to say yet about darkness, but sometimes when your back is against the wall as a parent, you come up with these weird.
No, it's great. Using your imagination.
Yeah, whatever works.
But at nighttime, we do like monster spray. You get a water bottle, spray the room. If he's afraid of whatever he's afraid of, aliens, monsters, spray the room. That's monster spray.
Oh, that's a good
So
one.
I got the monster spray you bring out. You can do, certain blankets are force fields. So if he's got the blanket around him, nothing can get to him. So finding some sort of comfort item where, get him involved in it. So like even when he's sitting on the chair, you got your superhero item. Nothing can get you here, because that really helps. It's their imagination, so you counter it with more imagination, like rain and animals. That's good. I like that. I'm gonna use that.
Listen, it was one of those things where I came out of the bedroom after the shower routine, and I had to tell my wife. And I think a lot of the times, just as a parent, especially myself, I'm just looking for a pat on the back from my significant other. And I came out and I said, I used the showering analogy, and she's like, all right, what do you want for dinner? I go, I was just in there making up a beautiful routine on animal showering, and you're asking me if I want sushi?
I want a slice of attaboy. That's what I want. I want an attaboy.
That's it.
I get it. Good. I totally get it. Yeah. I need to be more playful. That's one of the things I always remind myself. Like when I'm doing sort of like my morning mantra and my morning kind of just like affirmations, one of the things on there is just playful. If you can just be silly and playful, like not only are you a more fun person, right? Because your body just sort of transitions into this state where you take things a little bit less seriously. But I really like that. They're living in imagination, so respond to it with imagination. I like that.
And it lends itself to all the common theme here is like quality, not quantity, right? It's like, think about what you remember from your childhood. And it's not like every single day, but it's the quality moments that you had with family and friends and parents. That's what they're going to remember, the quality time that you spent in those individual moments, not that it was every second.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like when I look at my childhood, I barely remember anything, but I mean, I'm not going to remember like, when my mother took away my favorite army character or whatever it was. Jon, listen, we got to thank you for your time. And before I leave, I just have to compliment you on a few things. And I don't know if you're doing this or you got somebody doing this over at the house. The lighting over there, tremendous. The framing of you in the shot is just unparalleled. And I don't know who's doing your internet over there, but it's like government grade. It's
the first time we haven't had glitches ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's
amazing.
it's unbelievable. Whatever you're doing on and I don't know if you put makeup on or that's the way you naturally look, but God bless you for the spray tan or whatever the hell you got on
5
your
o'clock
face.
shadow that was shaved perfectly to look like a 5 o'clock shadow. It's amazing.
None of that. And the one shot I can't believe you didn't take was at the eyebrows. Like, it's such an obvious shot. I just can't believe, maybe it's just too low hanging a fruit. But I mean,
I noticed the eyebrows. I didn't want to go there because a lot of people wouldn't notice the framing of the shot. All right. Keep doing what you're doing.
I am sitting in my house by myself. There's no one here. There's no production crew. I have a little ring light. I framed it myself. This is how I look.
It's good.
It's amazing, John. And you're a parent. This goes to show out one more thing. A lot of parents that I see out and about look like shit. All right. They're not well dressed. They don't shower. Their hair's all over the place. John is a prime example of a parent of 2 young kids who is still maintaining his appearance throughout the day. And I got to applaud you for that. And I got to thank you for coming on the Daddy versus Doctor show. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
You got
it was
it,
great
brother.
chatting with you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
The opinions expressed in this program are not intended as professional medical advice, as a diagnosis, as a treatment protocol, or as a substitute for professional medical advice from your physician. Please consider your own medical history and consult with your own physician for your specific healthcare and/or medical needs and about your concerns for yourself and your family.